Welcome back, boys and girls, to another Grumpy Ewok video. And this one is likely to be the first of a series. We're not going to say it's going to be one after the other because, let's face it, we don't do things normally here at Ewok Productions, but it's going to be a series nonetheless. See, the human race. If there is one thing that we all love, it's thrills, it's pleasure, it's things that make us happy. And, well, the lengths that we will go to in order to get those thrills, well, it's something that's sometimes extreme, sometimes hilarious, and in some cases, just plain dumbfounding. It is these extremes that often makes me wonder, are we entering the time of idiocracy? That period where our collective intelligence just keeps dropping and diminishing to the point that we are all licking windows. And to be honest, in some respects, I think we are. But then I remembered some things that I saw with my own eyes 20 or so years ago and started delving and found that, well, things like this have been happening for years. So now I wonder, are we just simply have peaks and troughs of stupidity? Which brings me to the subject of what will undoubtedly wind up being a series of videos covering similar subjects mixed up with the usual stuff we cover. The amusing ways in which we humans manage to bring about our end. And today we're taking a look at adult toys because that always amuses me. We're going to get into all of that after a quick word from our sponsor. I say sponsors, but we're new, so we don't actually have one. Instead, I'm going to tell you about our favourite charity, Operation Florence, formed by a lovely bunch of ex and currently serving healthcare and emergency service personnel who see the decline in funding and gaps in capability as a real problem. They're working to build a volunteer-based emergency medical rescue and healthcare service that they hope will one day have locations across the country. But to do this, they need funding. I know, it's kind of ironic, but there it is. But they're awesome, so we really want to help them. So if you want to know more about them, details of how you can donate or not, or how to find out more about these amazing people, all the details you need will be pinned in the video description below. Right then, are we all back? Excellent. Let's get into this, shall we? A few weeks ago, I was at a very popular music festival called Download, which, side note here, if you've never been, you should. It's awesome. We've already got our tickets for next year, so maybe we'll see you there. Anyways, while we were there was, shall we say, an incident involving the Ferris wheel where a couple may or may not have gotten a little amorous and partook in some adult fun, shall we say. Well, they did, but they also got caught. So, Well, this got me thinking about all the ways that adults will look for kicks, which reminded me of a warning that was posted many years ago when I was a medic with the ambulance service. A new high-powered Hoover had hit the markets, and a couple of teenage boys had wound up with life-changing injuries, investigating the suction power of said Hoover. I'll leave you to work out what they were doing. So I had a look to see if I could find it and anything similar. So now I welcome you to what is likely to be the first of many journeys we take together down the road of all the ways that adults have managed to end themselves with curiosity and the need to seek kicks and thrills. Today's edition, adult toys. The simple fact is that we all from teenage years, well, we get curious, don't we? Of course we do. It's, of course, only natural. We all want to test that boundary of the well-known phrase, curiosity killed the cat. Which is why I wasn't surprised to find something along the lines of our first victim here. I was surprised by the age, though, that's for sure. Our first case here, well, our 50-year-old Honduran man, he didn't end himself. No, he just ended the life of his longest, closest, and no doubt dearest friend, his wee Willie Winky. In 2016, our 50-year-old Honduran fella stuck his wee Willie Winky in a shampoo bottle for a bit of personal fun. And, well, it got stuck. Thinking that it would all be okay if he just left it, he didn't take himself to hospital. for 4 days. By which point, well, his longest friend had long since passed, full of necrosis. It had to be amputated. Yeah, I guarantee that every fella watching this video has just winced in sympathy, while every woman watching this video has probably just said or thought something along the lines of, typical bloke, they'll stick it anywhere. Well, just to level out the playing field and show that this really is something that believes in gender equality, let's take a trip to Cirencester, England in 2019, where a young lady driving her car comes to a stop at a set of traffic lights. While waiting at said lights, well, her car suddenly surges forward, crashing into the back of a delivery van in front of her. The whole thing was caught on CCTV, as was she when she got out of the car, removing a pink rampant rabbit from its nesting place and throwing it in the back of her car before pulling up her trousers. See, equality at its finest. We're all stupid. Moving on. Now, we've all heard of young ladies using tampons as birth control devices, which I will say this. Please don't do that, girls. Once it's up there, it's pretty well up there, and if you can't retrieve it, well, that's a one-way ticket to sepsis. Warnings aside, I found a fella that went to some real lengths to achieve that birth control need. A fella in India, June 2021. He booked a hotel room for him and his ex-fiancée, took her out for dinner and drinks and went back to the room and, well, things got a little steamy. They'd obviously rediscovered that spark. Only one problem. He didn't have any rubbers and neither did she. So not wanting the mood to be wasted, he sealed the end of his little chat with the only thing he could find in his bag. Epoxy resin. As you do. I hope he had a great night, I really do, because, well, the end result was multiple organ failure. All that effort and no tomorrow. Still, at least he did it for all the right reasons, right? Our next candidate is from Sheffield, England, around 2018. Well, he's really someone that should know better, being a vicar. Our vicar here in his 50s, well, he had an encounter with a rather large potato, reported to be the size of a baking potato. Well, he took himself to hospital, somehow still able to sit down with said baking potato stuck up his darkest tunnel. Of course, questions were asked, asking about the reasoning for the potato's visit to his nether regions, which apparently happened purely by accident as he fell off a stool while hanging curtains in his kitchen. Naked. Of course, because that's something we all do, isn't it? Well, he did survive, having had the potato surgically removed. But of course, we do need to ensure that all things are equal, don't we? Which is why we're going to take a quick trip now to the central Colombian town of Hondu in 2014, where a young, some may say naive, 22-year-old woman is admitted to hospital experiencing severe stomach pains. Upon examination, medical staff notice roots protruding from her coochie. When questioned, it transpired that the young lady, following her mother's advice, had inserted a potato as a birth control measure. Well, said potato did exactly what potatoes do when they're in a dark and moist area. It germinated and began rooting. Luckily for her, it was removed without surgery and she made a full recovery. Being that we're looking into people trying to find that spark, it's probably time we looked at some electrocutions though, isn't it? I remember years ago one of my good friends, a Royal Marine, telling me how the reason he was limping and was in so much pain was because he had tasered his meat and two veg for a dare. I thought that would be a one-off, but apparently I was wrong, as an Australian man decided to prove by his inventive way of getting his kinks. See, our Australian fella, well, he made himself a device using a power cord from a kettle and a neck chain. He attached the live wire to the chain that he had wrapped around the base of his little chap, separated the earth, plugged it in, and away he went. The problem was that the earth did its job and completed the circuit, and, well, he electrocuted himself. Sadly, the fuses in his house were obviously robust because, well, they held out until the end. Then, of course, we have the ping pong incident. It's 2023 and we're now in Hrad Kralov, Czech Republic. Try saying that 3 times in a row. Where a 30-year-old fellow manages to electrocute himself in a rather weird fashion. See, it seems our 30-year-old Czech friend has a few fetishes. He was found wearing a one-piece ladies' swimsuit with a ping-pong ball stuffed up his darkest tunnel and an electronic massage device in his hand. Well, it seems that the electronic massage device wasn't the safest in the world, as he managed to electrocute himself through his wee willy winky. There are, of course, incidents involving ladies getting electrocuted down there. I have researched this and found two prominent cases, one from Kenya in 2025 and another from California in 2018. But let's face it, they were doing exactly what the devices were intended for. It was system failure. And well, that's pretty tragic. I'm not going to laugh at that. These were tragic accidents, yet one has sadly been attributed to the lady's toy being a black market knockoff, meaning that safety standards just weren't there. Yet, ladies' pleasure toys can be extremely dangerous in the wrong hands, as these two examples will now show. Let's take a trip to Waseca, Minnesota, good old USA. It's Christmas 2010, and a chap decides that the best way to spend Christmas is with his ex-girlfriend and two of her lady friends. So he arrives bearing bags of gifts and settles in, except he intends on making sure that Christmas goes with a bang for his ex-girlfriend by gifting her a dildo guaranteed to provide a dramatic climax. And not in a good way. He had rigged it with explosives. Now, our chap here, well, the landlord ejected him from the premises as soon as he found out that he was there. So he left the bags of gifts and went on his way, thinking that his plan would still work. Only issue there was that he told one of his ex-girlfriend's lady friends his plan while he was drunk. And, well, she called the police, who came and safely disposed of the explosive silicon male appendage and arrested the fella. He's now serving time and is probably someone else's plaything. Moving from dildos designed to kill to one that a couple really wish it hadn't tried. We're in Lexington Park, Maryland, USA, and it's 2009. A 27-year-old woman and her partner decide to make things in their love life a little bit more kinky. She decides that she wants her man to play with her in ways that had never been done before. She wanted something new, and his power tools are just what she was looking for. So they attached a silicon appendage to his electric saber saw and play they did. Well, the saw blade did exactly what it was designed to do when faced with silicon. It cut through it and began cutting through her. After what I can only imagine was a very interesting 911 call, she was airlifted to hospital, where she received treatment and was discharged a few days later to recover at home. Something tells me that she will never let her partner have power tools in the house again. However, I am going to end with one that has stayed with me from the moment I first heard about it. You see, up until now, all the ones I've covered today have been, well, lacking the dedication to the cause when compared to this guy. I first heard about this through the old faithful magazine called Bazaar. They stopped publishing in 2015, which was a sad moment in my life because, well, it was awesome. For this one, we take a trip to Alabama, America. It's around 2010, if memory serves, where a chap who was obviously a bit lonely and striking out with the ladies decided to take matters into his own hands and made himself a special sofa. He cut a hole in it with all of the right measurements and inserted two electric belt sounders for that special massage and vibration. Padded them out a bit, and he didn't want it to be rough. And by all accounts, it worked well, right up until that climatic moment when, I would imagine at least for a split second, he realised that he should have waterproofed the electric belt sounders. On that climatic spark, we're going to leave it there. I mean, if you didn't already think that this world is nuts, you probably do now. If you don't, stick around for the next video. We'll get you there. Remember to like, subscribe, and hit that bell button so you know when we post anything new. I'm off for a lay down and a pint of rum. Till next time, kids.